Girls, what inappropriate questions about guys have you always wanted answered? I've always wanted to know what it feels like to stick your DCK in someone. Okay, once you get past the individuality, there are some things that seem to be the same across the board. The first thing is the heat. Imagine pouring water that's about the temperature of a really hot shower or bath across your clitoris, and only the clitoris. That first shock of how hot it is, that's about where the temperature of the vagina is once you're inside it. Yeah, you could feel the same temperature with your finger, but it isn't the same as with an eyes. The CCK is much more sensitive. Next is the wetness, assuming you've done a good job during foreplay and no issues interfering. It's slick for sure, but there's this slight drag to it. I think of it like being between honey and syrup. So, if you take a super thick syrup, warm it up to the high 90s Fahrenheit, then put it on your CLT, and rub it in a little, messy and not ideal, but it's the closest I can think of, you'd be right about the sensation of the heat and slipperiness. For a little while anyway. Inside the vagina, it gets warmer and wetter as you thrust, usually. Now, the texture. Frankly, it's not that different texture-wise than what you can feel with a finger. But the penis is more sensitive, so you feel the friction more. The closest I can compare it is like running just your fingertips over very fine silk. I can't think of any way to roughly duplicate the feeling though. But the thing that really makes it unique compared to any other form of SX is the pressure. Once you slide inside, it surrounds you. When you thrust in, there's a slight resistance from the way the vagina seals around you. And when you're pulling out, there's this slight suction. But most important is the way it squeezes. Even if the last isn't actively squeezing, it's like this hot, wet, tight sleeve just pulsing around you. The closest thing I can think of would be if your partner worked on your CLT with just their lips and suction, sort of like giving it a mini BJ. It's fucking incredible. And if the lady is adding in contractions, there's really no way to describe how amazing that part is. But if you insert your finger into your rather tightly formed fist and move it in and out while squeezing, you'll get the basic idea. And when the lady has her orgasm, gods, it's insane. Because that squeezing intensifies, but it becomes more like a pulsing thing, usually from the entrance upwards, like this starving mouth that wants to suckle you until every drop is gone. It's the best thing ever. Yes, some are tighter than others, and it certainly changes the sensations. But I can't say that any level of tightness is better or worse, just different, but that may just be me. Some guys say they prefer it tighter. Myself, while it's more intense when tighter, there's a level of almost a caress when things are less so. It's nice either way. I can't say I've ever noticed any difference in texture, like ridges or anything. Once a woman is aroused and blood is filling the tissues, there's not really any variations in the surface inside. But labia, you can feel a lot of individuality there. You usually only feel it when sliding in at first, though some ladies have extra full labia minora, and sometimes they'll grip a bit more around the shaft. That can be very nice. Very, very nice, lol. Now, let's say your lady wants to start off without foreplay. It can be fun, and I've had partners request it occasionally. In that case, you can for sure tell the differences between individuals. Some ladies have a bit more surface variation at the entry to the vagina. Others are almost perfectly smooth. It's not like a huge difference, but it's detectable. Plus, the way the labia minora grip you is rather intense. Almost painful if you go too fast. Oh, and afterwards, particularly if you're with a partner and aren't using condoms for whatever reason, once you've come and start to shrink, there's this way that the vagina sort of holds onto you. It's like a really long kiss in a way. Slight suction, lots of moisture, and this almost tickling ripple as you come out. Incredibly unique sensation. Comparing things to other forms of SX, nothing beats vagina. It feels like this welcoming, loving home. It's like hugging your lover and knowing that you're home. Yay, vagina. When we send you guys unexpected suggestive/nude pics, what is your first reaction and what do you do with them after? Save them, use them, delete them, look at them and then forget about it? I can't tell you how many times I've sent pics and heard nothing back at all, so I wonder if they're appreciated or what. Edit, lol, the guy in question is my so of 5 years. In my mind he gets them, sees them, and then goes right back to whatever he was doing, tongue sticking out. Thanks for satiating my curiosity. Compliment, stare, save for later, use. Not very inappropriate, just really shy to ask. Is performance anxiety a thing? And can it get really bad? You're my only hope, Reddit guys. Please answer, lol. Edit. Thank you for the answers, guys. Keep them coming. Ha! Get it? No, but seriously. I'm so shy and solely repressed. The things I don't know scare me, that I just thought guys were mostly raring to go, and if they weren't, I did something wrong or turned them off. My next question is, how do I help in a situation like this? What would put your mind at ease? Final edit. I am most definitely reading every reply. In fact, I'm sure I have, and I'm gonna read them again to understand. I never knew just how much performance anxiety could really screw with you, and I'm gonna be a better partner because of your stories and suggestions. Thank you so much for replying, everyone. You've really helped me out. Final edit. You guys were right. Progress has definitely been made. Thanks for making my relationship better. Yes, I had an ex that had an unreasonable expectation as to what sex is, especially for me. Her idea was that it was always an hour long, constant pounding, no breaks for breathers or fluids, etc. Reality was that for me, it all depended. Sometimes I could go for 2.5 hours, sometimes, you bet 10 minutes. If it had been a lengthy dry spell, 2 minutes tops. But when she started nagging on me about it not lasting as long as she wanted, and the fact she wouldn't let me play around with her before or after, the anxiety really started to get to me. I couldn't hardly last as long, or at all, depending on how badly she was nagging me. Our bodies are just king fickle. We are not Prince stars who practice keeping hard all day. In fact, most places I have to go to would seriously not be happy with me if I said I had to keep this erection going for another hour and 45 minutes, or my girl would be sad. Would you feel emasculated if a girl proposed to you? I proposed to my wife after we'd been together for 2 years. She said that she wasn't ready for marriage, but that she wanted to stay together as far as she was concerned for the rest of our lives, but just not married. Yeah, it was a bit confusing to me at the time as well, but I was cool with it. She still wanted to be together, so I just told her that was fine, and if she ever decided that she wanted to get married, that next time it was her turn to propose. 3 years later, on a kinda random Friday, she told me to make sure I didn't have anything planned for the hours between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. I work from home. She left at about 10:45, which took me a bit off guard. 15 minutes later, she called me and told me to go to this one dresser drawer and open the envelope therein. There was a clue and a photo inside the envelope that lead me to a florist nearby. We lived in downtown Fort Worth at the time, and for the 99% of you who have never been there, it's very nice, and there are a lot of businesses, and oddly for Texas, it's very walkable. I went into the florist and they gave me a flower and another envelope, which contained another hint, and another photo that lead me to a nearby paper shop, where I got I think a card of some sort, and another clue and another photo, which lead me to the nearby Starbucks, where I was given a chai frap, and a final envelope and a photo. What had been very subtly done is that in each photo, hidden somewhere, was a word. For the florist, the word "you" could be seen on a tag hanging off some flowers. For the Starbucks, which was attached to a Barnes Noble, there was a stack of books, and the first letter of all of the titles lined up to the word Mary. The precise details of the will and you aren't coming to me right now. I still have all of these things, but we very recently moved and they're not where I thought they should be. At any rate, the clues at the Starbucks lead me to a nearby French bakery, and I had just figured it out, so I ran to the bakery, a couple of blocks over. By the time I got there, I was so excited and flustered about it that I was just talking about plans for how we should do the wedding and how amazing I found the puzzles to be. I forgot to say yes, which was very quickly straightened out when my wife then fiancé stopped my rambling and demanded an answer to her query. We've now been married 10 years, and I never once felt like her proposal to me was anything short of legendarily awesome.